Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
We will chant chapter 4, verses 31 to 35. Yajnashishtamritabhujah yanti brahma sanatanam nayam lokosya yajnasya kuthonyah kuru satthama evam bahuvida yajnaha vitata brahmano mukhe कर्मजान् विद्धि तान् सर्वान् एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्ष्यसे श्रेयान् द्रव्यमयाद्यज्ञात् ज्ञानयज्ञः परन्तप सर्वं कर्माखिलं पार्थ ज्ञाने परिसमाप्यते तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेशन्ति ते ज्ञानम् ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः यज्ञात्वा न पुनर्मोहम् एवं यास्यसि पाण्डव येन भूतान्यशेषेण द्रक्ष्यस्यात्मन्यथो मयि.
So the question is, please help us understand the difference between practice and awareness. Do we not have to practice being aware of truth full time? So the question is, how will you practice? How will you practice full-time awareness of truth? The question is, why are we not able to be aware of anything? Opposite of awareness is unawareness, forgetfulness. The state of unawareness could be two. One is you are asleep or you are preoccupied. I am not aware that there is a class at 7:30. So how to practice awareness? I can have 50 people sending me reminders. Still I forget because it's not my priority. No value for it. Or I am asleep. I neither value Vedanta nor value anything else. I am asleep. So unawareness assumes two variants. One is unavailability. The second is preoccupation. So why are we not able to practice anything? Forget practicing remembering God. We are not able to practice our knowledge of what is right food because desire is consuming. That is why we break everything down to mind and intellect. Awareness, mindfulness, meditativeness, meditation, concentration, focus, orientation, convergence, taking the mind. All this is beautiful Harvard Business School words. Doesn't help. It just doesn't help you. How do you pitch it to yourself? You pitch it to yourself when you relate it to mind and intellect in you. My intellect is aware of health. My intellect is aware of what type of food will help health. That's not the problem. The problem is my mind is more intensely aware, craving, desiring a particular type of food, wrong food. So the battle is between right awareness and wrong awareness. So when we simply use this word awareness, we mean strength of intellect. So once you develop strength of intellect, even though the mind is resisting, the mind is tempting, the mind is demanding, you don't yield because your intellect is stronger. This is the only way any practice can happen out of you. You can't deliberate it. You cannot force that. So in the case of being aware of truth full time, the best example is Krish. You are aware that you are husband of Chitra. So in a gathering of people, someone calls for, I forgot the name, Chitra's husband. Can you please stand up? You are aware that you are Chitra's husband, Krishnan. Now, would you ask this question? I am aware, but how do I practice it? Awareness automatically propels thought. Thought automatically propels action. Even if someone, by mistake, hears something, instead of Chitra, he hears as Mitra and he gets up because he is Mitra's husband. You will say, calm down, man, sit down. They are calling for Chitra's husband, not Mitra's husband. So your awareness regulates thought in you, action in you, and the same awareness helps you to guide others also. So with their single pointed awareness, masters are guiding us. This is all. So in spirituality, there is nothing as I am aware, but I am not able to practice. If we are not able to practice, if we can't live, that means our awareness is only intelligence. It is not a fuel in the intellect. Now it's end of summer now, fall starts. In certain four-wheel drives, I remember in Nissan, four-wheel drive, they have a gas tank, not the tank that is built in the car. They have a gas can, an extra can. So you may have 50 gallons of gasoline in a can sitting inside the car, but not a drop is there in the gas tank in the car. Your argument is, I'm having 50 gallons. I'm having 50 liters, gallons. It's not moving the car. It won't move the car unless it sits in the right place. You have to pour the gasoline into the gas tank of the car. It has to go through the combustion line, trigger the movement in the engine. Then the car will move. I am aware I can't practice means we are having 50 liters of gas in a can sitting inside your car, but not a drop inside the gas tank in the car. The gas tank is empty, but you have 50 liters of fuel in the car. It will not help. It can't move the car. So we may have intelligence, but what has filtered and gone into the intellect? So this process of strengthening the intellect and governing the mind can be practiced. Being aware of truth cannot be practiced directly. That is the exercise Vishnu gave to Narada. For every concept, there is a case study. There is a parable. So Narada had this gamand, means arrogance, that I am the best devotee of Lord Vishnu. So Vishnu called Narada and said, just to put the disciple in place, every master does that. When the ego, arrogance arises, one tap on the head, and then right type of disciple understands it in the right way. So it has happened to all of us. So Vishnu called Narada and said, I'll give you a simple job. You are my greatest devotee. Can you go around the three worlds, taking a small piece of oil lamp in your hand, not a small cup, a katori, not a drop of oil should spill out. You just have to go around the world thrice. Narada said, of course, I am your greatest devotee. Earth or heaven, there is no better devotee. I will go around the world thrice without dropping a drop of oil. And he went around the world without spilling even a drop of oil. When he came back, Narayana measured it. And the weight was exactly same. Narada asked, have I passed the test? He said, wait a minute, how many times did you think of me? Narada said, think of you? You know what's happening in border India and China? When I was crossing there, how can I think of you? So much of turmoil going on. I am only aware of the oil in the cup. I was not aware of anything else. And then Vishnu said, what type of awareness is this? When you have nothing else to do, you think of God. When you are given a simple task, first thing you forget is God. Therefore, the 12 Yajnas says, whatever you do, one part of your intellect can be available to discharge your duty. Another part of your intellect can be hooked to the self within. This is 12 Yajnas. So how to practice it? If you are intensely preoccupied with the world, we can't practice it. So when will that awareness of self happen in us? When the mind is less and less preoccupied with the world. But to force that awareness into us, the sages and saints of past gave many rituals, many prayers, many worship. They electrified life with divinity, or divinified life with all these practices. If you take the Hindu calendar, what is called as the Hindu calendar, Sanatana Dharma tradition, 365 days there is something or other happening. Every day there is something. Every 15 days there is a fast. Amavasya there is a ritual to be done. Purnami there is a Tithi ritual to be done. Some or other thing. Your mind is never left to go into the world to indulge. But whatever you needed to do, you can do. This is how they fenced individual's life. Whoever is interested in tasting the higher finds it elevating. Now we find it as bondage. You know, what type of life? I can't do what I want. Others tell me what I should do. So even that we are not aware. So how to practice it full time? If we are not practicing, we are aware of something else full time. That is why we say awareness itself generates thought. Thought generates right action. So strengthen the intellect, awareness happens. That's the way. You can't say I have awareness, but I can't practice. If you are aware, that awareness will propel a thought. You are aware of coronavirus. Will you take chance when you go to a market? 6 months, nothing happened to me. What's going to happen today? One slip, finished. Awareness always propels right thought. Right thought always propels right action. And you know someone else who is not cautious. So you watch others who are not cautious. Your own awareness makes you understand they are not cautious. Sometimes they will suffer. So awareness is the principal factor. Next, please. Is it correct to state that 12 yajnas are in our mind and intellect, as there is no physical fire and offering, and that we are to imagine the fire and offering while performing any of the 12 yajnas? Because the ritual of yajna is physically seen in front of you, consciousness, the fire of consciousness within is not seen. You have concluded 12 yajnas is imagination, fire ritual is reality. It's just the opposite. The fire ritual is a symbolic representation of the consciousness, the fire of consciousness, igniting us all the time. It's the other way around. The Havan ritual done in the temple is imagination. That is not reality. That is why we label the lecture as rituals to reality. Rituals are to lead you to the reality. Rituals are not real on their own. Per se, they mean nothing. All that stands in front of 3 people is a cow. You ask person A, what do you see? He says cattle. You ask person number 2, what do you see? Beef and leather, he says. You ask person number 3, he says Gomata. Are 3 entities standing in front of each one of the 3 people? One fellow sees the cow as cattle. Second fellow sees the meat and the skin. Third person sees the divinity in the cow. He says Go Mata. Go Mata means the mother cow. So all that is there is one and the same, but how a person sees. So 12 Yajnas, what it is talking about is the consciousness is there all the time in us. What is making the vocal cord speak is consciousness. What is making the intellect relate to thoughts is consciousness. What is making your intellect and fire outside and showed us, demonstrated us. So 12 Yajnas is not inside the mind and intellect and imagination. 12 Yajnas is what is happening within us. It is covering all life's activities. I'll summarize, then you will see the bigger picture after verse 30. Since everyone is not introverted enough to intuit consciousness within, you intuit it, you invoke it outside through a lamp, through a candle in a church, through a havan in a temple. So you intuit it and invoke it within if you are an introvert. But all of us are extroverts. We need socializing. We need getting together. So they gave a ritual where when your eyes see that fire, you remember the consciousness. So the ritual is imagination. Consciousness is what is happening all the time. Next. Is it correct to say that Yajna 3, Yajna number 3, perception, we are to be aware that all our perceptions are enlivened by the pure consciousness, Atman, self or Brahman. What is the actual practice, sadhana in this mental yajna? What mental yajna, intellectual yajna? Yajna, take out the word mental. Krish? What is the practice in this word yajna? Forget mental, intellectual, spiritual, emotional. Yajna, that's all. So is it correct to say Yajna 3 is perception? We should be aware of the self. What is the actual practice? The actual practice in this is awareness of the self. But awareness of self cannot be practiced as long as a person is riding on the perception. So the yajnas cannot be practiced. That is how we started the class. 12 yajnas or constancy of attunement with consciousness in an introverted mind. An introvert mind that is free from external preoccupation can invoke the consciousness within. For any one of us, desires and attachment are so thick, so heavy, so prominent and strong in us, we will be running after the world. Once in a while we can remember that is possible. So what is the practice? Attunement with the self is the practice. Negation of perception is the practice. All spiritual practice boils down to one principle. Assert the real, negate the unreal. If we get involved, entangled, become indulgent over the object of perception, you develop more desires. You lose your self-control. But you have to deal with the world. Deal with the world the way you need to deal with it. But in and through dealings, you understand the consciousness is making me aware of that perception. So every time you are coming within, there is an aspect of you which is, as the mind rides outside, there is an attunement inside. The best way I can help you understand is with the example. In Olympics, fencing, you have seen Krish? Fencing is the sword fight. Olympics or anywhere, even in Hollywood movies you can see. So they wear a helmet, a special type of mask or helmet, whatever they call, and then the sword is there. So two players are fighting with each other, they are sporting with each other. And as they start, you will find a chain that is holding them. Have you not seen that? Both of them. So why is there a chain behind this fellow, chain behind that fellow? Are they monkeys to be held in chains? The moment they go beyond a point, there is a reminder to pull. That's the 12 yajnas. The 12 yajnas is, there is no end at point at which the mind will say, I had enough of the world, now I am ready for God. This is what all of us feel. All of us feel, I don't know about him or her, but I am very, very sure. As soon as COVID is lifted, first thing I'm doing is going to Vedanta Academy and joining. As soon as COVID is gone, first thing I will do is to join the gym and reduce weight. As soon as COVID is lifted, first thing I'm going to do. All of us are waiting for a milestone in the world to seek the higher. So 12 yajnas say that you will never be done with the world. Why are you waiting for that point? You go about doing things in the world. Parallelly, you can include the consciousness within. So what is the practice? Assert and be aware of the self, the consciousness that is functioning. Negate the involvement in the world, not the world. World you can't negate. Negate the unnecessary mental entanglement and involvement. Do what has to be done. This is the practice. 4. If the word self-realization is indicated by yajna number 5, yoga of self-control kindled by wisdom, then how is it different from yajna number 2, absolute ideal, which is also self-realization? So yajna number 1 is relative ideal. Yajna number 2 is absolute ideal. So that verse is only talking about, verse 25, it's covered in verse 25, is only talking about 2 possibilities. As a human being, you can work for relative ideals in life. Worldly goals, which will get you prosperity, peace, happiness. Or as a human being, you can aspire for spiritual evolution, which will take you to self-realization. 2 possibilities, that's all. Yajna number 5, he is saying how you pursue that self-realization. How do you pursue the self-realization? When perception happens, you can get involved in the object of perception. If you end perception with perception and move to the next, self-control is kindled in you. Okay, with reference to eyesight, you have that discipline, but with reference to ears, you can't cut off. What you see, you complete seeing and move to the next, but what you tasted in your tongue, you can't forget. Because we have a weakness for tongue. So all 5 senses the person has to have restraint, and when they are engaged for evolution, it leads you to self-realization. That is the indication in yajna number 5. So 5 is talking about the methodology. Yajna 1 and 2 is only talking about the possibilities. Next, please. Please confirm if my understanding of yajnas, which are practices of providing service to others without expecting anything in return, is correct. Yes, but it is incomplete. It is not fully right. Yajna comes with a conscious fixation of goal for evolution. It is not serving others without expecting anything in return. What it is to have this attitude to serve and sacrifice. We say, don't expect anything in return. But don't take that as the yardstick. Because if someone takes anything in return, you will say he is not doing yajna. A leader of a nation who is constantly thinking about the nation, he is doing a yajna. He can be a prime minister. Soldier of a nation is taking a salary. Mahendra Singh Dhoni got so much wealth, but constantly thought about the team. Rahul Dravid is taking a salary, thinking of the team. I'm sure you worked in a corporation. And knowing you, I don't think you are an exploiting person. You must have been a dedicated asset. But just because you took a salary or a paycheck, we can't say you don't have the attitude. So yajna means what is your attitude? When you have the right attitude, you will gain more than others. That is why we say spirituality and poverty don't go together. Cannot go together. Vishnu and Lakshmi are always together. And Lakshmi is at the feet of Vishnu. Vishnu is the reality. Lakshmi is wealth. Wealth is at the feet of values. So if you are treading the path of values, wealth, power, position, name, fame, reputation, everything will follow you, but you are not interested or entangled in them because you are seeking the higher. So what is the test of yajna? The test of yajna is, what is your motive in doing an action? Your motive is evolution. In order to evolve, you can't be gathering desires and chasing them. So from selfish, self-centered desires, you progress and upgrade yourself to unselfish, impersonal, nobler desires, which is service and sacrifice. But when you are performing unselfish deeds, the society will pamper you. Wealth, power, position will be at your demand, at your command. They will all surround you in life, but you are not interested in those results. You are interested in the higher, in the evolution. So yajna means conviction upon the higher, because of which you gain the courage to sacrifice the lower. Whether there is a reciprocation in it or not is of no consequence. But when people are narrow-minded, they will only see reciprocation. The great Swami who was in India, who was running a multinational corporation empire, he came here a few years back, the yoga guru, I'm not mentioning the name. And the Indian High Commission invited us to participate in that. So we went there. And in the dinner time, everyone were talking, this fellow is a big businessman, he does business. And I didn't participate in the discussion because food was good. And the lecture he gave was so inspiring. You need to have vision to listen to people. This is a world that crucified Christ. And 2000 years later, more than half of the world is Christianity. It takes 2000 years for us to know one value of Christ, which is forgiveness. We are talking about galaxy of sages and saints. When are we going to know about them? So we will measure people according to our inch tape. So business. He is not interested in business. He is not interested in money. He is not interested in wealth. He is only interested in serving. But when you are inspired by this vision of service, nothing stops you. So whether it is a village 20 people or a town 200 people or a city where 2000 people congregate or the whole world where 2 million people are learning, to him it makes no difference. He is not interested in numbers. He promotes whatever he is convinced. His conviction could be, there could be errors in his endorsements, in his references, but in conviction there is no fault. So when he has the conviction will throw an invitation upon people. So he will succeed, he will get prosperity, but he could be totally detached because he knows the hollowness of wealth. That is yajna. Such a person is doing yajna. But as far as other people are concerned, they see only balance sheet to balance sheet. In a hospital also, the CEO sees balance sheet. Last year we did 8,000 MRI scans. This year we did only 6,500. He holds a meeting and says, bonus cut. Will any CEO in a hospital be happy we are doing less MRIs, less patients? Will any CEO of a charity running an orphanage say, in 5 years down the line, we should close down the orphanages? No orphanages in the city means no orphans. No orphans means no irresponsible parents. This is my vision. That guy cannot be a CEO of an organization. They will throw him out. So charity CEO means this year we have 5,000 orphans. Next year we should build a shelter for 10,000 orphans. Wow. Because our mind is numbers. Our mind doesn't work with inspiration. We work on quantity, not on evolution. So your understanding is right in the sense, it is not serving others. Serving others is incidental. what is the prime aspect of yajna? The prime aspect of yajna is self-development or self-realization. If you are interested in one of the two, yajna relates to you. Or else we are serving others only for selfishness. A call center is serving people. A club or a pub or a discotheque is also serving people. A person who is selling alcohol is also serving people. Everything is service. But the question is, what is the motive behind it? There is no concept of self-development or self-realization. There is no idea of evolution that marks service. So we have completed till verse 28. Verse 28 listed 4 types of yajna. Yet others again offer wealth as sacrifice, yoga as sacrifice, ascetics of rigid vow offer study and wisdom as sacrifice. Now what he is talking about is 4 types of activities you can perform in the world. Now there are 3 types of activities or 3 transactions of life: receipt of stimuli, reaction within, and response in the world. So this is traffic of life, applicable to all of us. Receipt of stimuli happens through your organs of perception. Eyes are receiving color and form, ears receiving sound. So when you receive a stimuli from the world, it attracts the mind. Your mind loses control. It compares with what you have, what you don't have with others, and you get irritated, agitated. You pick up desires, chase the world, get attached to what you have. This is the life of misery. 12 Yajna says, if you develop your intellect, instead of reacting based on your mind, you'll be thinking and responding based on your intellect. So when you receive a stimuli, what is happening inside you, in the mind? We could be reacting to the stimuli. I like it, I want more. I dislike it, throw it out. This is reaction. Response means beyond your reaction of mind, your intellect evaluates the situation and finds out what has to be done. So receipt of stimuli is happening through the organs of perception. How can that be converted into yajna? Verse 26 talks about it. Reaction within your mind. Your mind can react and say, I like it, get attached. I dislike it, develop hatred. How can the reaction of mind be converted into yajna? Verse 27 talks about it. And then when you are responding in the world, you can get involved again. So how to convert your actions in the world into yajna? Verse 28 talks about it. So your entire life is receipt, reaction, response. Receipt, reaction, response. Entire life of ours can be packed in these 3 words. How to convert entire lifestyle into yajna is covered in these 3 verses. So verse 28, when it comes to responses into the world, there are 4 ways in which you can respond into the world. The first is you can deal with material wealth. When you are dealing with material wealth, what is your attitude? To optimize your fortunes or to dedicate it for an impersonal cause? Now, how can you understand the difference? Hundreds and thousands of CEOs around the world governing banks. Professor Muhammad Yunus is also CEO of a bank. What is the difference? If you know that, you will know yajna. All other CEOs are only working for a salary, for remuneration. They may be dedicated. I'm not saying they are not dedicated. They're dedicated. But if that salary is not there, what happens to the dedication? Professor Muhammad Yunus is taking probably more salary than any of the CEOs of banks, but not interested in it. He is inspired by vision. What is that vision? To get rid of poverty from world, at least to minimize it. So, are you interested in just accumulating and aggrandizing wealth for yourself, or are you engaging your wealth to serve a higher circle, not just your family, your friends, higher circle? So Dravya Yajna means sacrifice of wealth. The next is called Tapo Yajna. Tapo yajna means serving, volunteering, performing karma, action. So what is called as volunteering in these countries? Where you're moving one layer deeper than wealth. You are engaging your physical body in service. That is why we say Vedanta organizations are 100% volunteer run organization. How dare anyone can claim like that unless it is true? It's so easy to have a recording person for X amount of salary. Why break our heads with Vijay Bhatt, who doesn't know anything about information technology, but he has dedication. I'm just referring to one person, not particularly the person. Why we have to have volunteers? Because there is a field for us to dedicate your energies towards higher. Karma, karma, karma means what will you do? You'll only do kurma in the kitchen. What karma you can do? Inside the house, you can't do karma. In your company, you can't do karma. Can you say, let the best man take over the seat, chair? If I don't get promoted, it's okay. How can you say that? We can't say that. We are fighting with each other in the companies. So there is a field that is provided by a guru. So our guru provides a field for all of us to do some karma. What is that karma? When there is an opportunity, you have nothing to gain whether 5 people attend, 50 people attend, 2 people attend, no one attends. That is why time to time lectures are organized. Or else it looks prima facie absurd that a person has to come all the way from India to give 4 hours of lecture and go back. How much of money is spent for nothing? But when a person like Swamiji or these people come, then we get an opportunity to rally together as a team and dedicate our energy for higher. What is that higher? Just as someone brought this knowledge in front of my door, can I make this information available to 5 more? Only one person asked me how to do. That is why I'm quoting Vijay's name. I said, Vijay, simple. Sit with your phone. Tell people, don't disturb me for 2 hours. This is the way you start your karma if you want to do. Go through the names. And just inform them there is something like this. Fortunately, everything is free. What embarrassment, what problem you have. Even that we can't do. Our mind interferes. What will he think of me? What will she think of me? They will think I am backdated, I am outdated. Vedanta is my personal fancy. Why should I endorse it? It's not for endorsement. We can't even break the first line of shackles. How can we do any yajna? So if such a person can't do it, then go to the grocer, which is wealth. Just cut a check and throw. No, I am not happy doing that. I want to do something more. Means it's not cutting more checks. It is using your physical body, your actions to engage in the higher. If all the sages and saints stayed in their house and did not write or speak, we will not know ABCD of life. They came out, spoke to us. For what? For no personal returns. So tapo yajna means you are physically moving into the goal, into an action, which is not selfish, self-centered, but it is impersonal in nature. This is tapo yajna. Third is called yoga yajna, mind and intellect. So though it is titled as emotions and intellect, yoga yajna, yoga means union with the self. Through your mind and intellect, delivering services that help others advance spiritually. This is yoga yajna. That is why the Bhagavad Gita lectures are called as Gita Jnana Yajna. Yajna of Jnanam. Jnanam means knowledge. Gita Jnana Yajna, it is called. So what is the teacher giving? Is he giving money to people? Definitely not. Is he improving their physical body? No. But he is giving spiritual services from the level of mind and intellect. Knowledge he gives, but the way he treats you, it's very insulting. Emotionally, you can't handle that situation. There are gurus who give you a lot of emotions, but knowledge zero. So guru means one who can address both your mind and intellect. That's a guru. Knowledge, books and computers will give you, but computers will not give you emotions. They will not address the mind. Addressing the mind, emotions and devotions, tape recorders and bhajan albums will give you, but knowledge you will not get. So why do you need a guru? For the confluence of mind and intellect. This is called as Yoga Yajna. The fourth is called as Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna. What is the highest yajna you can do? Not just listening to another and getting intellectually entertained. Having listened, what are you doing? Swa Adhyaya, self-study and practice. That is why I say, follow it up with practice. Hearing will make you familiar with words. But unless you reflect over what you have heard, study the commentary. Why I'm saying commentary is that is where I'm getting all this from. Nothing is my own product. So you have the commentary, you can go back. I could make a mistake. In noting down, you can make a mistake. We can't say there is a mistake in the commentary. If there is a mistake in the commentary, I don't know what to do after that. So we go by the gurus who are communicating from within. They are not communicating from intelligence. They are communicating from their unfoldment. So when you follow that line of thought with your self-study, you gain wisdom. Once you become wise, you are incapable of living selfish life. So when you are wise, it's not that you close your doors and window and sit inside your house. You will do all the other three yajnas. So in Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna, 22 years of sitting inside a room and writing literatures, our Guru Swamiji. After that, what did he do? He didn't give it to some publishing agency and buy a palace in some beachside resort. Having gone to the last, which is Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna, attained that self-unfoldment, you give the knowledge to others. Yoga Yajna is happening. Not only Yoga Yajna, Tapo Yajna is happening. Physically advancing goodness, wellness in other people's life, making a set of people who will perform that yajna. And when a yajna or a lecture is organized, there is the economy also flourishes. That was the significance of rituals and festivals. The significance of rituals and festivals was to enable the economy to flourish. The proof of that is, take out Christmas, take out Diwali, take out Ramzan, the economy will crash down. Yet corporate organizations say we don't deal with religion. If people don't deal with religion, if there is no religion, the whole economy will crumble. Those who are in business will know that. Diwali, Christmas, New Year, Ramadan, these religious occasions bring maximum business. You don't have to be in the business of religion. You don't have to be selling lamps. You don't have to be selling agarbattis. It could be clothes, it could be cars, it could be anything. Religion sells economy. So they understood that it was an incidental benefit. That was not the main benefit. So Swadhyaya Jnana Yajna, the moment you go to the subtlest, all three are taken care of. This is verse 29.
Apane juhvati pranam prane panam tatha pare prana panagati rudva pranayama parayanaha apane juhvati pranam prane panam tatha pare prana panagati rudva pranayama parayanaha.
Translation. Yet others offer a sacrifice, prana, incoming breath, into apana, outgoing breath, and apana into prana. Restraining the course of prana and apana, some are absorbed in pranayama, breath control. So verse 29 covers two more yajnas. Yajna number 10, yajna number 11. What are the two yajnas? First he says prana into apana. They sacrifice prana into apana. Prana is incoming breath. Apana is outgoing breath. When you take in breath, you call it incoming breath, prana. You take in breath according to your capacity. How long can you keep it? 6 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. After a while, you have to let the breath out. Apana. So, prana is offered, apana is kindled. When apana is offered, again prana is kindled. Incoming breath gets deposited into your lungs. Once it is deposited into the lungs, you hold it for a few seconds, but you can't hold it eternally. There is a trigger, there is a threshold, and after that you have to exhale. What is making all this happen inside you? Breathing is possible. How exactly the airflow is going rightly? Every 1.5 hours, your breath switches from one nostril to the other. You can put your hand below and feel. Now it is shooting out of right. 1.5 hours, every 1.5 hours it keeps changing. So who put this mechanism into your body? How exactly you are able to take in oxygen and pump out carbon dioxide? Who set this mechanism into your personality? We don't know that. So who is receiving it, getting it stored in the lungs and distributing it into your body through the blood, oxygenating your entire system? We don't know that. When our body cannot do that, then you need a machine outside. Next time when you go to a hospital and see a patient with oxygen, oxygen is there everywhere. In the room where his bed is, there is oxygen. In the corridor outside the room, there is oxygen. Entire hospital, there is oxygen. Oxygen is there in the streets everywhere. But why does that fellow need that? He needs that. You don't need. That is why you're standing next to the person. So whatever has to work properly is working properly in you, in that person that is failing. So whether it is working properly or failing, the consciousness is functioning within. So prana is incoming breath, gets deposited into the lungs. Apana, outgoing breath. Outgoing breath becomes the offering. Incoming breath is the kindling. So 11th yajna is yajna of prana and apana. Without prana and apana, the three transactions of life, recit, reaction, response, cannot happen. If you are choked of oxygen, after a while you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, you're short of breath. No talk about reaction within or response to the world outside. So the entire three transactions of life is sustained by the play of prana and apana. So 10th yajna is yajna of prana and apana. Second line he says, restraining the course of prana and apana, some are absorbed in pranayama. All of us are taking prana, all of us are exhaling apana. But we can't say we are doing pranayama now. As I am speaking, I am taking in breath. As I am speaking, I am giving out breath. Inhalation, exhalation is going on. Inhalation and exhalation is going on even when you are asleep. But can you say you are doing pranayama? You are right in saying you are breathing, but you can't say I am doing pranayama. Then what is pranayama? Restraining the course of incoming breath and outgoing breath. So what is the exercise of pranayama? Prana means breath. Yama means control. Pranayama means regulation or control of breath. That's all. By pumping air in and clearing it out, you can't become spiritual. Gas cylinders will be self-realized, if that is the case. So this is gross cannot give you a subtle effect. Breathing, animals do. No animal grows. Spiritually. So what is pranayama? Pranayama means regulating your breath in such a way that your vital energies are kept intact. When you come running, climbing 2 floors and then come into the class, suppose I climb 2 floors and come into the class, I can't speak immediately. You can't chant immediately. You can't do anything immediately because you have to get to that level of regulated breath. So regulated breath enables effortless action. Remember it. That's all. What is the use of doing pranayama? Regulated breath will make your activities effortless. It will give you a conducive environment for effortless action. Not only breath, prana in a larger sense means all intakes. You're gone to an expert yoga teacher, learn pranayama. But dinner you are having 35 idlis. What will happen that night? Your pranas are destroyed. Or to lose weight, you are fasting and fasting and fasting and eating the wrong type of food, listening to some Google pages. Again, your pranas are destroyed. So pranayama doesn't mean regulation of breath alone. All incoming activities and discharges, which is maintained by breath. We understand food as intake, water as intake, but oxygen we don't understand it as an intake. When we use this word food, means idli, dosa, aloo paratha, samosa, bread, sandwich, all this is food. When we say drink, water, Coke, Pepsi, and whatever you people drink is drink. Food means solid and liquid. What about oxygen? You have best type of food, best type of liquids, but no oxygen. You'll die in a few seconds. But good oxygen you have, water you don't have, maybe 6-8 hours you can last. Food you don't have, 5-6 days you can last, depending on your body. So intake is not restricted to food and water. Intake, the highest intake a person needs, most critical is oxygen. Therefore, they emphasized prana, the importance of pranayama. You have to have regulated breath. Regulation of breath will not control mind. Strong intellect will control mind. When you have a strong intellect and your mind is controlled, your breath will be regulated automatically. You can be going through an agonizing experience. You will stay calm and relate to it. The best example is an emergency patient is rushed into a hospital. The surgeon, physician, is his close friend. So people call and the person says, this is the surgeon who is working in the hospital, is my close friend, please call him. And he says, I am in the hospital, bring him to the emergency, I will take care of it. And the surgeon rushes outside, waiting for his friend, who is an emergency patient, who has met with a collision, an accident. How does the surgeon deal with it? Now he has called a second friend or his brother. Brother drops everything at work and takes a car and comes to the emergency ward. When he sees blood all over his brother, how does he relate to it? Why is that the surgeon is calm, cool, composed? He says, don't worry, not much blood has gone out and it's just it is a major injury, but you have come on time, we'll fix it. Just a matter of few hours, you'll be all right, he says. How does the first surgeon say that? Because in that field, he has an intellect. He has that knowledge. So if you have fortified your intellect with knowledge of life and living, in any situation you can organize your mind. When your mind is organized and governed, it will not disturb your breath. Shortness of breath, disturbance of breath. Shortness of breath, disturbance of breath is because the mind is disturbed, the mind is agitated. Mind is disturbed, mind is agitated because the intellect is not backing it. The intellect has yielded to the pressure. So 11th yajna is yajna of inner strength by regulating prana and apana, not just incoming breath and outgoing breath. It starts with breath, but all activities of life, you can gain inner strength. Now the question is, what do you do with that inner strength? This is covered in 30.
Apare niyataharaha pranan praneshu juhvati sarve pyete yajnavidah yajnakshapita kalmashaha
Apare niyataharaha Pranan praneshu juhvati sarve pyete yajna vidaha yajna kshapita kalmashaha. Translation: others with regulated food offer pranas into pranas. All these are knowers of sacrifice, and by sacrifice have they destroyed their sins. So this is the concluding verse of the 12 yajnas. 12th yajna of external activities is given out here. Now, what is the yajna of external activity? Again, every yajna has offering and kindling. There is a pilot fire into which you offer what is called as ahuti, and once you offer, it's kindled. So this is the ritual of yajna. Now this is what he's talking about here. What is offered here is inner strength, which you gathered from the previous verse. How did you gather inner strength? Not by eating right type of food alone, not by watching out how many liters of drink you should have every day, fluids you should have, not by taking supplements. The most vital intake for any being is oxygen. Many vital organs are failing, but lungs intact. That fellow can survive few days or weeks depending on the medical condition. All organs are intact, but the person is deprived of oxygen, suffocation. Few minutes the person will die. Therefore, they gave so much importance to prana. Not only that, it is breath that is regulating innumerable activities in your own system. So, the regulation of incoming and outgoing breath, intake and discharge of participations with the world, input and output, will determine your inner strength. Inner strength is not physical strength, internal strength. So internal strength is offered, external activity is kindled. In the verse, the first prana that is used means regulated internal activities, absorption of energy. Prana, twice used in this verse. So first time when he uses the word prana, what he means is regulation of internal activities which results in absorption of energy. The next prana is offered into prana, he says. The second prana is expression of acquired energy into external activities. So what is offered is in inner strength. With your inner strength, what are you doing? You can conquer, take over companies. You can interfere with others' life. You can give tough time to others. You can function in a selfish way. But external activities here, he means yajna again. So one complete cycle is over here. He started with receiving the stimuli. The stimuli is offered. Perception is kindled. Having kindled the perception, you have a choice to end that perception there or mentally to relive it. If you end that perception there and move to the next, you are practicing self-control. If you live your entire life in this stream, you are evolving. Self-realization, kindled by wisdom, he said. And then how does such a person respond in the world? He performs yajna. What yajna? It could be dravya yajna, tapo yajna, yoga yajna, swadhyaya jnana yajna. And then all of us are taking breath all the time. If you are not doing any activity, if you are not perceiving, even then you are taking breath. Suppose you say, I am not doing anything, how can I remember God? I am not perceiving anything, how can I remember God? But you are breathing, no? So the moment you take in breath, it is deposited into your system. The consciousness is kindling the entire activities. So you don't know. The mechanism we know only is still the lungs. But how exactly everything is coordinated? The lungs receives the oxygen, and after a while there is discharge of carbon dioxide, and then the oxygen is spread throughout your system, through the cells. How exactly it happens? Who has engineered it? We don't know. So prana into apana, apana into prana. If you do that properly, you are practicing pranayama. If you practice pranayama, you will get internal strength. And that internal strength you can engage in external activities. 12 yajnas complete. So whatever you do, you can't escape consciousness, the thought and awareness of consciousness, if we have that knowledge. Because we don't have that knowledge, the mind is getting involved in the outside world, developing more desires and attachment. So as you function in the world, not get entangled with desires and attachment and invoke that consciousness within. 12 possibilities, 12 yajnas. Go through the commentary or your notes, and other verses are downhill. In my guru's words, he says, the uphill is over now. The climbing uphill is over. Other verses are downhill now. Easier to study and understand. If you have any question from today's session, you can ask, please.